most part, we're going to remain on this slide for many different reasons. Okay. One, because I think you need to get a little perspective as to why I'm here. Then you'll understand why we'll remain on this slide for quite a bit. So there are three major projects that we have been working on since like 2017, 2018. Much of them deal with primary prevention. And when you speak about primary prevention, I think it's a very interesting topic, because if you do read literature, you do find out that most cancers, the caveat here is most cancers are preventable to a certain degree. So what we thought, when you talk about cancers though, but then again, if you look at all our projects, it's meant to be prevention of diabetes, prevention of mental health and sleep issues, on top of which there's so many different things that we did over the last few years. So basically, we started off by trying to find out, very much like what Fitri did in her work, try and find out the lived experience. We want to find out the lived experience. We need to know exactly, understand the internal and the external realities of what happens to patients and also society before you even think about what we should do with them. All right? So with that premise, what we did was we sat down, we tried to find out, because what constitutes the maximum burden of diseases in this country? Inevitably, it's going to be about non-communicable diseases, which includes cancer. So we sat down, we did a lot of interviews everywhere, and we somehow codified the entire perspective of lived experience into like close to 3,000 different codes. Initially, it was 5,000. Then we codified it. So we actually understand why these people behave the way they do. Way back in 2018, we know, but we didn't really tell much about it because it was very hypothetical until 2020 when we really tested it out. So what happened then was we codified this entire narrative into an AI platform. So the idea here is we want to create an ecosystem. You see, when people come in with cancer, I used to work with KKM. So a little perspective, I used to work with the Ministry of Health for a good 16 years as a vocational trained GP. We were there, we saw things, we know that it's not going to go everywhere. We talk about stakeholders, and then we come to you and tell you about money because they don't understand what's going on, even though you're an academic, even though if you're a scientist, whoever you are, it all boils down to money and the impact. So then that got me thinking, and okay, you want impact, we'll give you real or ground up impact coming from the patient, coming from the mouth of the patient himself, herself, real time. We'll create an observatory for you, a real time observatory where you can actually see things happening on the ground, real time, integrated to all the primary care clinics. You see it. So you can see a little bit of this when you look up. Like for example, if you are a social scientist, then you might, testing, okay, we're all good. Okay. So, you might need to mute that. So I think to cut a long story short, if you look at other if you want to see a good one, then you can see something called Hofstad Insights. It'll tell you many different countries, the national identity of each country. What's the power distance? Malaysia has our largest power distance, 100%. So that's why your stakeholders won't work for you. So we are done away with that. We're not going to go to our stakeholders because you might not get what you want. So we have that precludes every other step all the way. We don't want to intervene with stakeholders unless you give them irrefutable evidence that this is going on. So that's what you want to do. So why am I here? Why, if I'm working with just chronic diseases and mental health and sleep, why am I here? Because NCSM looked at our project and told, hey, your platform, we can easily include primary prevention of cancers. You can put that narrative in the platform, and then it will work, and it's an ecosystem. Patient holds the patient and also holds the handphone. And we talked about geography, right? Our system is all about vertical equity. You can be wherever you want. If you have a mental health issue, you are in Miri, you can talk to a clinical psychologist, everything is like compact. We have it. So that is why I'm here. I'm not an expert in cancers, but though being by virtue of being a clinician working in preventive health, yeah, I know about cancer quite a bit. And when they come in too late, we know that. So that is why I'm here, you know, how we can bring everyone's work together. Everyone's working with so many different perspectives of the lived experience. What if for cancer we can all just come together, create a narrative, find out what really works? Like for example, let's just derive something from mental health. Okay, so we want to prevent them from reaching an overt stage of mental health. Like when you have anxiety and depression, you read the book called The Body Shows the Signs. Huh? Body keeps the score. If you read that, then you would really know that you ought to pick it up before it's too late. Once it's too late, your body and your mind fundamentally changes. Even for cancers, even for diabetes, if you don't detect it late, your body just changes. You can't reverse it. That's it. So what we want to do is, we want to detect. So for mental health, okay, if you're there are a lot of evidence about social parameters that determine whether you're going to slip into anxiety and depression. We know these are all out there, you know. And I was arguing, the reason why I put it here is that I was arguing with these two people. These two people were talking about suicide. Then in one forum, then I just got up and told them, suicide is just another spectrum. Just like cancer, it's just too late. Suicide is just like cancer, it's like too late. What happened and what happened to the person throughout that life spectrum before he reached the point of suicide, that is what you want to learn. Same goes for cancer. So you can see everything like cancer, chronic disease, whatever it is, there's a story to tell. And if you can codify that, then you can detect it early. So that's what he did for diabetes. That's what he did for mental health. That's what we did for sleep as well in certain aspects. So when we are talking to NCD Malaysia, then they were telling me they are partly related to this. So they were telling me, hey, why not you come and give these guys a talk and tell them about what you're doing? So okay, fine, let's do it. So I told them. So this probably is a very unscripted talk here. So you have to bear with me. So I'm just going to tell you what might work, and this is just the platform for me to tell you. You can come in and tell us if you want to collaborate. That's up to you. So you can tell us. This is just a platform for you to think about it, because I'm not great in cancers. I do know we do screen for colorectal, lung cancer, cervical cancer. We do all that, but patients just don't come in. Why they don't come in? Because we don't know the narrative. Fitri might have a clue to the narrative. Yes. The narrative is it's strange that if you, for diabetes and mental health, even if you do studies in Malaysia, the narrative in Australia is the same. I was quite bewildered, because when I tested out the same narratives in Australia, it's the same. So fundamentally, humans are humans, people are people. You know, whether you're from first world, whether you're from a developed nation, doesn't matter. You know, it's just slight little context here and there, maybe in terms of religious disparity or cultural disparity. That's about it. So, yeah. So, I don't know I think you can move on to the next slide. I just wonder, how many of you are aware of this system in the primary care clinics? You don't know this? Everyone's talking about ecosystem, trying to create an ecosystem. By the way, I deal a lot of self-management. So people who have cancer should take ownership of their lives, and people who do not have cancer should also take ownership of their lives. So you see, they started this project, of which they did come to our clinic, because our clinic, before that, there was no Klinik Kesihatan KKKL. So our clinic was the single largest training center for primary care specialists, and also the hotspot for doing all kinds of experiments. So what happened was, they wanted to roll out this particular project called TBC OCHIS, which is trying to digitalize everything. It's nothing new, but why do they want to reinvent the wheel? There's so many other projects out there. Why create this again? They're bound to be bugs. So eventually, the next, can you just click again? Okay, eventually they did do it. Is it okay? Yeah. Is it really working? You can go and find out for yourself. It's not. Okay. Is there any scientific evidence as to how this thing works? Not really. It's very difficult. I was part of the pilot project, so I do have some confidential information. So evidence Very difficult to even extract things from this. Very difficult. You can't extract into SPSS, you can't extract into Excel. Even if it's Excel, it's difficult to decipher, let alone understand it. Okay, then they have this, which was very exciting for me. This was really exciting. This is like self-management, right? You look after it and then you come back and tell the healthcare provider, is this working? Go check it out. It's not working. So that's when, like, oh, okay, I realized that going through the system, I understood, oh yeah, it could work, you know, but it's just not designed to work. Okay, taxpayers' money, by the way. Okay, next. Okay, so what is needed? That's why I think the work that I think even, oh yeah, Fitri, by the way, your name is not really that bad in terms of awkwardness. My name is like, you know, 4 people had to name it. And one's from a poet, comes from poet, right? Rabindranath Tagore is a poet. And the funniest thing is that the yoga part of the name was even, I think even the priest had a hand in naming me. So it's not that bad. So, okay, so we realized, we sat down and we realized that we need to do this. Where patient has a voice, we need to look into what the patient has to say, need to look into how we can make ends meet by getting healthcare personnel to understand. And I feel, although we keep saying that Ministry of Health is under resourced, this capacity is not that big, you'd be surprised. I've been working there for 16 years. There's a lot of potential in there. It's just that we're not tapping into it correctly. Trust me. There's a lot of ways to do this. Okay. So what we need to do is achieve some kind of vertical equity where people take ownership or custody of their own lives and interact ground up. So if you have, imagine if you have a digital platform which allows, everyone has a phone. Say for example, there are tools to allow you to, like, at the very least, tell you about your cancer and your lifestyle and tell you, okay, you have a profile. This is your cancer profile, lung cancer like this, breast cancer, this you have a profile, and the doctor has to look at it, you have a look at it. Because Malaysians and also Asian people, especially in Japan, they don't want to have that conversation, you know. Like in Australia, oh, I have cancer, yeah, let's talk about it. Malaysians are like, let's not talk about it. Japanese people are even averse to it, even worse. So you need to create the space, very much like mental health. You need to show them, oh, okay, look, your risk, your vulnerability is 80%. Then they want to have that conversation. So it's like you need to create one more step in order to take up the next step. So that's what it is. So the next slide. Okay, before this, the reason why I got into this study is also very unique. I didn't actually want to get into study way back in 2017, 2018. I was at that time writing a book. You'll know what the book is about towards the end. I was writing a book. It will be published in August 2024 this year. It's a GP primer which has all kinds of algorithms in it. 2017, algorithms, easy. You look at the algorithm, don't look at the text. Just look at the algorithm. You'll be able to solve the patient from A to Z, preventive, everything is in there. So like 260 conditions in there, multi-authored, peer-reviewed. Took some time, but it's okay. So then 2 people actually approached me. They're unlikeliest of people. I don't really like to, because they're business people. So business people, I don't think they work for non-profit. So I don't like to. The only reason why they actually approached me, because they had a look at what my book looked like and also my previous work with lived experience. And these people actually approached me and they were a little humbled. I would say it's because they also went through the same process of getting into health problems. Then they realized, oh my God, you can solve this, you can. So like they looked at that and they looked at the algorithm. They said that it should work ground up. So you can see here, like what we have seen in the TPG OCHIS, you can see all the limitations out there. It's not real time. You have so much of data in there, but it's difficult to even decipher it. Why? I don't know. Beats me. Okay, next. So this is what we did. You know, we integrated it, tried to find an industry partner who already has a working system and a platform, everything ready. All you need to do is just plug in. Mental health, plug in. Test it out. Run it in the society. Test it out. Does this work? Validated? Fine. Okay, shelve it one side. Okay, diabetes. Oh, I have the lived experience of it. Let's run it. Codes. Run it. Run. Okay, fine. Validated. Okay, works. Does it correlate with HbA1c levels? Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does. So we have that, and then we were working on diabetes with this NCD Malaysia, and then they looked at it. Then recently, mental health and Miasa also working with this mental health. Then they're like, oh, this thing you can use it for cancers. Why not? You can. So like that's why I'm here. So it's nothing. Might be a little different than what you're hearing from the rest of the speakers, but yeah, that's what it is. So this is just a rundown of what we had, how we developed the platform. The platform is just a vehicle. Just plug it in, then you can get a repository, and it can easily be converted to SPSS. A lot of scientists like SPSS. I use Stata. Stata is like gives you a lot of survival analysis and stuff like that. Okay, next. Yeah, this is essentially how it looks like. I think this is for the. Yeah, it essentially looks like this. You see, there's a data hub, and then it goes to the cloud, and then this is the model for the mental health platform. So you have a phone. If you're worried, yeah, appointments are scheduled for the to actually see the clinical psychologist on the phone physically. If you can't meet them, vertical equity, right? So you can sit anywhere. Try to bridge that gap. So all that is possible. If you want to speak to your doctors halfway, if you can't meet them, you want to talk to them. Sometimes they need to be told that, oh, it's urgent. Come, show up at our doorsteps. Then they'll do that. Okay. So it's all done. This is the ecosystem technically. This is just the operational ecosystem. Next. Okay. What moreover? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's for scientists like me. This is what we want. More than just developing the system, we want all this. I want this. This is super important. If the government wants to know why their policies are not, because policies are purely, I mean, in my personal opinion, it's just rhetoric. You know, like Singapore came up with this mental health grand scheme of things, you know, mental health policy, well-being, 2024, 2008. But when you look at it, I think it's too broad, too ambitious, too broad. I think the indicators are not really strong. So for a scientist, we need real-time population monitoring. And then then you can tell the policymakers, look, something is going wrong here. Maybe you want to try this. And then when you do that in the society and you run this again, run them through the system, whether it works. That's what you want to know. You run the entire thing, like for diabetes, for example. Cancer is the same, but I will just tell you what we saw in diabetes. So you run it. Okay, say for example, external realities, for example, the services, we talk about services, hostile, right? Doctor go there, hostile, they're not nice. So the narratives will tell you that. So interventions is required in terms of that. So if you run that, would HbA1c levels improve by proxy? Will their self-management improve? Yes, it did. So, you know, intangible things can actually produce very tangible results. You don't see it. It's intangible, but it actually can produce tangible results. So that's what you want. The same thing can be achieved with cancers, but I leave it to your judgment to tell us how, if you would want to explore this. Next. Are we running out of time? No. Okay, never mind. Let's quickly. Okay, so this is what you want to achieve. And then you get this. You get a passport. You get a passport of the major diseases that affect us. You get a passport. You can tell them, okay, this is my passport. Okay, I got to do something about this. Okay, that's what we are. All right, next. I think we're done. Okay, these are all the backstories. I don't want to talk about it. You can look it up, or yeah, this is all backstories, all published. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, next. The book. Okay. So the book, basically, the algorithm. If you're talking about cancers, this might be interesting to you. These are all evidence-based synthesis of cancers. We have lung cancer, how it works, what are the risk factors. You know, you can codify this in some ways. You can test it out in the. I hope you don't take photos because it's not published yet. It's not published yet. Don't. So these are really good ones. Interesting. Okay, next. It's for colorectal. Somebody spoke about colorectal cancer, right? You're looking at all cancers. You're not only looking at just breast cancer. Or of course, Sue would disagree with me. Sue and I are friends now. We go back a long way. So yeah, colorectal cancer. What else do we have next? What's this? Breast cancer. Yeah. So you see, you have everything in there. You just plug it in, create this narrative, plug it in, And you see an ecosystem running, whether the patient is actually screened, if this was done, the doctors themselves, best practice. So it's like a system, creating a system with best practices in place, preventive health in place up here, and a loop back system. And whether that can be converted into indices that are measurable, you can achieve. It's not difficult, I would say, especially with AI now. I thought, okay, next. Okay, basically it's this, you see, 10-year plan. You want to do all this. I think that's the last slide. Okay. So I think it's doable. I know it's ambitious, but I've seen from the diabetes project and the mental health one that is currently being, we just applied for Welcome Trust and we just submitted it. But we have planned, it's the same rollout, it's just using the same platform. So it's no brainer actually. So that's what you're trying to do. So we are trying to engage you guys to, if you have ideas about cancers and you want to use the platform, just reach out to us. We can, the aim here is to, like, you see, there's so many people here, so many brilliant people here, so resourceful people. We should all just collaborate together, like what I always envision in this project. So much fragmentation. There's no reason for fragmentation. Let's all get together, put our minds and solve it once and for all. That's what I intend for. That's why I got like one team to work on mental health and another team to work on diabetes, then sleep, good people. Let's work together and just, we can find something, some solution to this. So that's my idea. So the next slide is just my contact. If you want, you can contact me, and if you want any questions, if you want to ask me any questions, yeah, sure, go ahead and ask me. Although I've run out of time. Okay, Tarni, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yoga. Any questions? I
Yeah.
have a very quick one.
Yeah, sure.
Cancer in the primary care. Best practice is patients should repeat their screening. With AI, can the doctors have if someone is due for screening, but perhaps they have not repeated it in the last 2 years?
To answer your question, that's why I completely disagree with the fact that TPC, the TPC OCHIS, right? The system should actually prompt the doctor. Say, for example, of course, there's many different ways of screening breast cancer patient, depends on which part of the plan, but basically Americans and people from the UK, that's the same, but it's not that. So what I'm trying to say is you just plug in several parameters and the system should be able to prompt the doctor. That's what happens in UK. That's what happens in a GP clinic in Australia where I used to work. It will tell you, this guy has not gone for prostate screening. This is like ancient technology. You have the parameters. Okay, has this patient done prostate screening? Has this patient done breast cancer screening? It's all possible. It's just that you need to develop it. That's what we are working on. Yeah. It's possible. It's just you use socio-economic indices, which is now like socio-economic determinants are like it's like a hot thing, right? But rightly so, because you can use that to determine a lot at the very baseline. You can determine a lot of things.